My name is Dara Denney, and welcome back to Ad Spend. Today we're going behind the scenes with Jones Road Beauty to discover how a lab mistake led to their hero product and how Meta ads helped scale their business to $160 million in just 4 short years. I'm sitting down with Cody Plofker, CEO of Jones Road and son of the legendary Bobbi Brown, to unpack the surprising origin of Miracle Bomb, how the brand is partnering with content creators in 2025, and how they're using incrementality testing to make smarter marketing decisions this year. I am so excited for this conversation. Let's go. So Jones Road Beauty was founded in 2020, launching the exact week that Bobbi Brown's 25-year non-compete agreement ended with Estee Lauder, which, by the way, was also during the pandemic and an election week. And in the beginning, Cody resisted joining the family business.
I was like, I don't think that's a good idea for me to work with my mom. I don't know. And when Jones Road was launching, the general manager at the time was like, should we hire an agency? Should we go in-house? She was like, well, we don't know, and will you do it?
Cody has a background in media buying and e-commerce. He didn't just walk into the CEO role. He started at JRB as a consultant, worked his way up to director of growth, then CMO, and eventually became CEO of Jones Road earlier this year.
What was it like growing up with Bobbi?
So I was super shy, and I hated attention.
Mm-hmm.
She would she would take a car to work, have a Lincoln, town car, drop her work, and I'd make her drop me around the corner, stuff. So it's I even went to school on the West Coast. I want to just be let me go far, let me go where nobody knows me. And then now I live in the town I grew up in. I work for her, so it's full 180,
This is the thing about Jones Road Beauty. It feels like a tight-knit, homegrown family business, but they're also rewriting the rules of the beauty industry. But one of my favorite parts of their story, actually, is about their best-selling product, Miracle Bomb.
She was at this convention, and there was a vendor there. She briefed them on a product. It was supposed to be 2. There was supposed to be a skincare thing and a makeup thing, and they sent it back, and it was 1, and tried it and loved it.
This is just one example of the serendipity at the heart of the Jones Road brand. Even the brand name came from a road the family happened to spot while on vacation driving through Long Island. There's something a little magical, almost predestined, about the business as a whole. And that lab mistake became Miracle Bomb, their hero product, which has driven over $100 million in revenue on its own. And their big focus moving into 2025 is how to capture new audiences so that they can get to that next stage of growth. So like many beauty brands, influencers play a huge role in their marketing. And a large part of that strategy is making sure that they partner with the right content creators and lean into partnership ads on Meta.
We hadn't had as much success with influencer whitelisting ads as I wanted. We've always been pretty cheap about it. Let's pay a little bit. They're not huge creators, following doesn't matter. That's what most DR people say. And mixed success, some success, but not as much as I wanted to. And the only thing we hadn't done is larger creators. And they were that's the thing that works. We're not having success with the micros.
So previously Jones Road had been partnering with micro creators, but they actually didn't see a huge amount of success from that on the paid acquisition side of things. So a big focus for Cody's team this year was to test working with much larger creators.
We definitely wanted to test different audience sizes just because that was a hypothesis. You'll hear a lot of people say audience size doesn't matter for ads, it's just about the content. And then I've talked to a lot of brands who have actually tested and they're no, it actually does, matter. And again, I don't think it's a one-to-one correlation, but we are having success with, slightly larger investments and bigger, well-known creators, which I'm really excited about.
While I think some brands might have really different experience here, micro creators do really work for some brands, but for Jones Road at least, this insight was a huge unlock for them, especially as they try tapping into new audiences. So when developing the strategy for what types of creators they actually want to work with, they actually start by identifying the new audiences that they want to reach. And then they connect them with the product that makes the most sense for that type of activation.
We're trying to go very persona-based. So all right, let's go moms. Let's get a list of 10 moms. Or we're trying to reach millennials, who is a younger demo for us. So who do we feel is a fit, makes really good content, has an audience that kind of like fits that persona. So if somebody sees it and they're like, oh, that's me, you know,
Yeah.
kind of like the creator as the targeting, trying to think about it that way.
What does your briefing process look like for these bigger creators?
So they're not getting like a full script.
The JBR team will typically start with a product and then give the creator 4 content pillars that they can decide what feels most authentic to them.
So if it's Miracle Bomb, right, it could be that you love the versatility and the multi-use. It could be that you love how it shortens your routine, something like that. And hopefully they can just pick what resonates with them. These are not kind of like, you know, UGC direct response creators. And we're like, hey, we're working with you because you're a great creator. You're really good at creating content. You know what resonates with your audience. Like, go do your thing.
Yeah. And for all of these specific partnerships, are you utilizing partnership ads for them? Is that all that you're doing? Are you testing on your own handle at all?
We're actually not for these larger ones. It would be interesting to do it, but I think no, it's pretty much all partnership ads. A little bit of whitelisting, but I know it's, you know, kind of everything's going the partnership ad direction.
Yeah.
One of our, I guess, theories or hypotheses is that this will also help us reach a new audience. You know, I've heard that there's some learnings at the page level. And so, especially with larger creators who maybe have ran ads through the pages before, or, you know, there's more data to model, hopefully this will help us kind of reach new audiences versus if we're just running the ads from our page, it can get, you know, it's harder to break through.
One of their top performing ads at the moment is actually a partnership ad that they're doing with Emily DiDonato.
She's super authentic, gives a good behind the scenes look, super trustworthy.
Now, Emily DiDonato has a certain it factor that is really hard to pinpoint. And personally, I am a huge fan. And when a creator has this certain je ne sais quoi, I actually think that makes them an excellent person to partner with for content. And I think it's also really important to note that she is currently popular because she makes great content, not because she's riding some former wave of celebrity status that she used to have. So let's take a look at one of her top performing ads for Jones Road and compare that to an example brief that they provided to get those winners. Now, their briefs are really comprehensive, but they actually allow a lot of room for creativity. We have the product introduction page, a brief objective to help explain the goal and desired outcome of the content. How to apply the product. Now, this is one that I actually find a lot of brands miss out on, but is very, very important to spell out really clearly exactly how you want the creator to use your product on camera. A shot list, an example concepts that creators can select from for their creative, do's and don'ts, and some other shooting guidelines. Now, in this video with Emily, you can see that she's immediately leaning into the on-the-go concept because she's literally in the car. The hook voiceover also calls out moms, and we know that millennial moms are a big focus for the brand this year as they are looking to expand their audience. Now, next it jumps right into application and product demo, which is so important for beauty brands because it shows results fast and helps them reduce that hesitation that people feel before buying. When you can actually see how the product looks and performs, it builds trust way faster. Now, Emily also calls out another key message that Miracle Bomb is multi-use. It's a quick and easy nod to the idea that this product can do a lot. It's perfect for busy people who want fewer products in their routine. Overall, this ad does a really good job of introducing Jones Road to Emily's audience in a way that feels real, mom-friendly, and genuinely authentic. So another big pillar of Jones Road's success is not just about the marketing we can see and experience, but it also lies in how they are actually measuring their marketing efforts.
I remember like doing a monthly report and I would add up from Facebook, from Google, from Klaviyo, from, you know, an SMS platform. And I'm like, well, that's 20% higher than what the Shopify revenue was.
The math is not mathing.
Yeah. And I remember just like thinking about it, like, let me get back to you. I don't know why that is. Like something must be broken. And it's obviously because they're all just comparing their attribution and it doesn't actually equate perfectly to one-to-one. There's a lot of overlap with channels.
This urgency to figure out attribution really intensified after the iOS 14 changes, where Jones Road and many other marketers were forced to reconsider how they were measuring their marketing effectiveness. As a result, Jones Road moved away from platform-specific attribution, like Meta's ROAS reporting, and shifted towards something that was a little bit more holistic. Specifically, they were measuring these 3 KPIs. Number 1 was media efficiency ratio, or MER, which is total revenue divided by by total marketing spend. And number 2, most interesting to me, was contribution margin. This is essentially the money left over from sales after paying all variable expenses associated with producing a product. So total revenue minus variable costs, which is going to include marketing, COGS, delivery charges, operating costs, and that will equal your contribution margin. And then number 3 is incrementality. This measures the additional impact or lift generated by a specific marketing activity beyond what would have happened otherwise. And Cody explained that contribution margin is their main daily KPI as a brand.
What we look at is what's our blended contribution margin and what's our total spend. And then once we have to figure out how we have to change total spend, if we're under or over pacing, we'll then figure out which channels are driving it.
Yeah.
And then really incrementality has been just such a blessing and really the main way that we look to evaluate our channels. We're reaching people who are not going to buy on one day, so we might not always see it on like a one-day click or a last click. We would stunt our growth if we were only looking at things that way, but we need awareness campaigns, we need reach campaigns, we need mid-funnel. And those are not going to always be measured with a click.
Cody explained that 5% of their overall meta budget is actually dedicated to brand awareness and reach campaigns. And they're currently trying to figure out if that number should actually increase. Now, I was personally very interested to hear this because I know a lot of marketers only approach Meta as a conversion-only channel. And even I have been very guilty of immediately discounting things like traffic campaigns and even non-purchase objectives on conversions. Because I had this belief that, Meta is so smart. If you want sales, you go after sales. And who doesn't want sales? However, through this talk with Cody and even thinking about the last conversation that I had with Seed, I'm really starting to understand that as brands are starting to scale rapidly, they really need more touch points with consumers, especially as they are expanding outside of their core demographic. And I'm starting to learn how these brands can actually lean into Meta's algorithm so that they can meet those customers way before they're actually ready to make that purchase. Now, another big reason why they are continuing to test the incremental lift on their Meta ads is actually because of their retail stores.
You ask people in our stores, "Where do you hear about us?" It's almost all, "I see you online, I see Bobbi in an ad, I see you on TV, I see you on Instagram." But again, that's not measured by somebody clicking on it.
Jones Road runs quarterly tests on all of their marketing channels using a third-party platform called House so they can understand exactly how incremental each of them are. On Meta specifically, they also measure what is specifically working in the account by using their conversion lift tool, which is located in Meta's experiments. Now, many people using Meta ads are familiar with the A/B testing tool. And this is where you can split an audience into two and test out different ads or different treatments on those different audiences. Now, a conversion lift test will also split that audience, but instead of showing it different ads, in this situation, one group won't see any ads from the brand at all. You can then see how many of those people who didn't see an ad actually still went ahead and made that purchase. And this data will help show you how many conversions truly happen because someone saw an ad creative, aka how incremental it is.
For us, Meta is very incremental. It's like half of our new customer acquisition is actually driven by it. So it's very incremental.
The reality is that some people are going to buy whether or not they see an ad. These conversion lift studies essentially measure the amount of people who are buying because of the ad, not just people who happen to see the ad on their journey to make a purchase that was already going to happen. Now, I've worked for about a decade in performance marketing, and I've actually spent a very large chunk of that working with beauty and skincare brands. And something that I think that makes Jones Road super special is their balance of serendipity, but also intentional brand building. As advertisers, we are in a massive era of change, and I've personally never felt more uncertain about what was going to come next for our industry. However, I think the brands that are going to be most likely to succeed are the ones that embrace that and continue to have an always testing mindset.
I think sometimes founders or marketers or whoever can get really locked into who they want to be and not necessarily what the customer is resonating with. I think who we thought we were as a brand 4 years ago is really so different from who we are now. And I think there's been so much change there, mostly in a good way.
What would you say your number one piece of advice is for Meta advertisers in 2025?
It's a really good question. Keep up with the updates. I think it's so clear that so much has changed, and obviously the AI revolution is here. And I think it's sometimes harder to see because it's not like a chat interface that you're kind of seeing, but like there's so much investment that's going on behind the scenes, and the way that we need to think about the platforms and making ads for the platforms is just completely different to what it was 4 years ago. A lot for the better, some potentially not. And so I think we can't just run the same playbook. Like we're seeing that even with organic socialists. Like I think with Reels and all of the changes there, it's a very different playbook for when it was a chronological feed, but certain brands are a little bit still stuck in that, and the performance, shows. So it's just, you just have to be so relevant with the changes. I think that's the biggest one.
This wraps up our second episode of Ad Spend. I can't wait to hear what you guys think, and you are not going to believe who I'm interviewing for episode 3. See you next week. Love you. Bye.